We thank you for this day. We thank you for everything you've done and everything you're going to do. We ask that this summit day be nourishing, that it be flowing, and that everything that is said today be something that glorifies you and feeds your daughters. We ask that it be uplifting, that they receive a word from you, and that I say what you have for me to say, and let it be beautiful in your sight. Thank you for all the things that you've done, all the things that you're going to do, and all the things that you are doing each and every day. We ask for your strength and your peace and your love and your kindness as we go through the rest of this day, and many more to come. For all these things we pray in Yahushua HaMashiach's precious and Kodesh name. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right, let's get into this thing. So, as always, I have an agenda. So my agenda for today is a little different because I switched up the order from the other day. So we have the introduction, we have an encouraging moment. Instead of the word grace, we're going to look at a different word today, a word that really blessed me today, and I wanted to share it with you, and I'm excited about it. And then review of the reflection questions that we did last time. The meat of the matter, where we're going to do all the things, hand expressing, pumping, which pumps. We're going to get a little into pump parts, but not 100% because the flange and the nipple size and all of that we're going to do tomorrow. But we're going to get really in depth with pumping today. And then final tips and takeaways as always. So for the introduction, as I said yesterday and the day before, my name is Khakmah, formerly known as Samantha. I am a virtual doula, breastfeeding educator, childbirth educator, postpartum doula, uh, bereavement doula. I'm forgetting another one. Oh, aromatherapy and herbalist. I also do in-person doula, but the virtual is what I'm most known for. I own Yadah, which is a women's health service, and we do these free giveaway type summits. Well, this is our first actual summit, but we do free classes every so often. I try to do at least one free one a month. And this summit, we are doing this summit. Why this summit? Why breastfeeding in particular? Because African American, Black, Israelite, Hebrew people, women of color, need to be properly educated on breastfeeding, and hopefully this summit will give a foundation and be more informational and help them on their journey. All right, so the encouraging moment for this day really touched me today. So I was talking to an ama or mother, earlier, and she was talking to me about how she was trying to look up the Hebrew, what the Hebrew word for forsake would be, because she was saying that she wanted, he would never leave you or forsake you, but she didn't know what the Hebrew word for forsake would be. And so I looked it up. Strong's number H7503. It is Rapha, which most people know as the word for healer, Yahuah Rapha, as we typically pray when we need healing. That word comes from Deuteronomy 4:31, amongst other places, but it says, "For Yahuah the Alua, or Elohim, depending on how you want to say it, is a merciful Elohim. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. That's the KJV version. So the root word for Rapha is Rapha. And so the parent roots are the resh and pay, the resh and hay, and the pay and hay. And so when you break down the parent roots, I have the meanings beside them. The resh and pay is heal or medicine. The resh and hay is flow. And then the pay and hay is blow or mouth. And so all I did to get the concrete meaning of the parent roots is just match up the definitions. And so what I got from it is healing flows from Yahuah's mouth. And the reason that really blessed me today, I wrote a little synopsis down here, is we receive our healing when we spend time with, read, listen, meditate on Yahuah's word, which, as we know, his word comes from his mouth. When we don't, we may feel, think, act as though we are lost, unloved, uncared for, i.e., forsaken people. However, we know that Yahuah's promises are yes, and so be it. And so he does not ever leave us nor forsake us. And so, in remembering when we're forsaken, in remembering that we're not forsaken when we go through different trials and tribulations, we have to remember that our medicine, our healing flows from Yahuah's mouth. And we must get into our word, listen to it, meditate on it, read it, spend time with, in order to remember that we are not forsaken. And that really blessed me today. And so I feel, I share it with y'all instead of grace. We talked about grace 2 days in a row. So I feel like I'd share this one as well. Hi. And as always, by Yahoo. Go ahead.
What you said about yes and so be it? I missed the first part that you said about it.
Oh, that his promises are yes and so be it. Or KJV says yes and amen, but amen just means so be it.
Oh.
His promises don't fail. Oh, yeah. So what I was saying about I have Yahoo today as well, so he'll be popping in and out because he's him. All right, so we're gonna review the reflection questions that we talked about last time. And actually put them back on the screen today. So, what emotions consistently come up for me right before or during a letdown, peace, anxiety, tension, or something else? Why do I think that is? Why does my environment, sounds, people, posture, etc., affect how easily or comfortably letdown happens for me? And if my body could speak during a letdown, what would it say and how about how it feels, what it needs, or what's holding or what it's holding on to. Whew. Okay, if my body could speak during a letdown, what would it say about how it feels, what it needs, or what it's holding on to? We kind of talked about each one of them yesterday already. Question number one, I talked about how the different emotions that you're feeling can negatively or positively impact your letdown. And so I wanted you guys to look at how you feel or how you have felt if you ever had a child before during those moments. And then why do you think that is? And then for your environment, we of course, which is really great because Forsaken goes right into that meditating on the word of Yahuah, is the environment and how comfortable you feel and how that positively or negatively, depending on how uncomfortable you feel, affects your letdown. And then your body, and if it feels tense, if your shoulders are up near your ears and they're not relaxed. Some women, like their feet, studies say that your feet should be slightly elevated. That's why they make those rocking chairs with the ottoman, and you put your feet on there. for nursing, just so you can be as relaxed as possible. And so, in considering your thoughts about those questions, consider there's not a right or wrong answer, but it's to help you be aware so that you can get to a better environment in each exercise that we do. All right, we're getting into the meat of the matter. And this video is not for children. It's not bad. It's just not for, I wouldn't show my 4-year-old. So that's my disclaimer.
When you start breastfeeding, it's a good idea to learn how to express your breast milk. It may benefit your baby if he's born early or needs a little time to learn to feed at the breast. Later on, if you wish, it can allow you to have some time away from your baby or return to work while continuing to breastfeed. In this film, we'll meet 3 mums who express their breast milk. We'll learn how to do it and how it can benefit you and your baby. Mum of 3, Dee, has been hand expressing since her eldest was born.
Hey, my friend.
It's a skill she still uses as part of her breastfeeding routine with 4-month-old daughter, Melody.
You use your hand to express the milk, so you basically take your hands and you basically squeeze the breast milk out with your hands rather than using any utensils.
Always give your hands a good wash before expressing, and make sure you use a clean container, sterile for a preterm baby. It helps the milk flow to be able to see your baby or a picture of her. A warm shower or flannel on your breasts can also help, as can massaging them. Lactation expert Marjorie is here to give Dee some extra tips on massage. Massaging your breasts is important because it stimulates oxytocin, the hormone that releases the milk already made and stored in your breast.
So if you make a fist with your hand and then use your knuckle to gently put pressure on your breast from the top of the breast towards the nipple and go all around. So try not to slide so you don't bruise. So it's very much about using, yeah, that's it.
You may find it more comfortable to use the flat of your hand or fingers to gently massage around the breast. Gently fluttering your fingers over your nipple also helps to stimulate milk flow. After massaging your breasts for a minute or 2, you're ready to express. Create a C shape with your finger and thumb, and then place your fingers about 2.5 centimeters from the base of your nipple. Rhythmically compress and release your finger and thumb as if you were bringing them together.
Well, there we go. Can you see? Sometimes that happens quite quick and sometimes that takes a bit of time. So do not worry if sometimes it takes a little bit of time. It's about then moving your fingers around and finding different ducts. That might work a little bit better.
There are lots of ducts connected to the lobes all around the breast where milk is produced. Move your thumb and fingers around the breast to get the milk out of all of them.
Well done. You've done that very well. You moved your thumb around a little bit to find a different spot.
Don't pull, squeeze hard, or slide your hands over the breast, as this may cause bruising. In the first days of your baby's life, you'd expect to express small quantities of colostrum, which is often yellow in colour. If your newborn baby seems reluctant to attach at the breast, Giving him some expressed colostrum can help. Even tiny amounts of expressed colostrum are beneficial if you have a preterm baby who can't feed at the breast. For more information, you may find it helpful to watch the short film on feeding preterm babies on your DVD. Around the 3rd or 4th day, you'll probably notice a change as your milk begins to come in. Your milk will become whiter and more fluid. If your breasts begin to feel very full, hand expressing a little milk can be a good way to avoid painful engorgement and make it easier for your baby to attach and have a good feed.
I would definitely recommend hand pumping to anybody.
Once your milk supply is well established and you can express larger quantities, you can begin building up a stock of milk for your baby. Linda has been expressing milk for several months, so while she's out, Dad or a babysitter can still give breast milk to 10-month-old Kiva.
I kept expressing the past few months to have milk available, that I could have some flexibility and freedom, that I could go out.
Ducts connected to the lobes all around the breast where milk is produced. Move your thumb and fingers around the breast to get the milk out of all of them.
Well done. You've done that very well. You moved your thumb around a little bit to find a different spot.
Don't pull, squeeze hard, or slide your hands over the breast, as this may cause bruising. In the first days of your baby's life, you'd expect to express small quantities of colostrum, which is often yellow in colour. If your newborn baby seems reluctant to attach at the breast, giving him some expressed colostrum can help. Even tiny amounts of expressed colostrum are beneficial if you have a preterm baby who can't feed at the breast. For more information, you may find it helpful to watch the short film on feeding preterm babies on your DVD. Around the 3rd or 4th day, you'll probably notice a change as your milk begins to come in. Your milk will become whiter and more fluid. If your breasts begin to feel very full, hand expressing a little milk can be a good way to avoid painful engorgement and make it easier for your baby to attach and have a good feed.
I would definitely recommend hand pumping to anybody.
Once your milk supply is well established and you can express larger quantities, you can begin building up a stock of milk for your baby. Linda has been expressing milk for several months, so while she's out, Dad or a babysitter can still give breast milk to 10-month-old Kiva.
I kept expressing the past few months to have milk available, that I could have some flexibility and freedom, that I could go shopping, I could meet up with people, I could go out in the evenings, me and her dad could go out, that I didn't have to be with the baby all the time. Expressing milk meant that I had the option. I could go out, but she would still be being fed. So it's a reassurance to know that she's still getting milk whenever I'm not with her.
Many mothers find it quick and comfortable to use a breast pump, although starting off by hand expressing is still a good way to stimulate the flow of milk. There's a wide range of hand and electric pumps available. You can express from one breast at a time or both together. Double pumping can save you time, and there is evidence that it may be more effective. You can use an expressing bra or adapt a sports bra to hold the collecting sets in place and keep your hands free. The milk you express can be safely stored in sterilized containers or sealed sterile bags for up to 5 days in the back of your fridge at 4 degrees Celsius or lower, for 2 weeks in the ice compartment of a fridge, or up to 6 months in your freezer. It's best to let frozen milk thaw in the fridge or under cool running water. Once breast milk has been defrosted, use straight away, never refreeze it. You can warm the breast milk to feeding temperature in a container of warm water. You should never use a microwave to thaw or heat expressed breast milk, or heat it directly in a pan. Linda will soon be returning to work and plans to continue breastfeeding.
I'm still enjoying it. She's still enjoying it. It's really important that work doesn't affect that and that they're supportive of me keeping going.
Linda will need to be able to express breast milk at work, and she's gone to speak to her employer to make sure everything is arranged in advance.
There's a room that I'm going to use, has been assigned, it's now got a lock on it, that I can have a private space to go in and express. And it was a big step to actually say to my boss, you know, I'm going to breastfeed. What made it handier was that I had got leaflets about returning to work and breastfeeding. So I kind of used those as the way to start the conversation, to say, look, I want to breastfeed whenever I go back, and this is what's required of you. So that was an easy introduction into the conversation that I didn't know how I was going to bring up the subject.
Community nurse Laura is also a breastfeeding mum. She's been back at work for several months and expresses some breast milk once a day.
I work in different areas, and generally I just go in along when I feel I need to and ask for a private room. But your employer is obliged to provide a private room with a sink for you, and also they are actually obliged to provide a fridge for you to store your breast milk in. I don't generally do that. I just generally keep my milk in the cool bag, because you can keep it for between 6 and 8 hours in a cool bag, and I'm always home by the end of that time anyway.
For Laura, returning to work was no barrier to breastfeeding.
Hello! Mikey! Hello,
Expressing at work means that she can leave breast milk for her toddler Michael to have when she can't be with him, and both she and her son continue to enjoy a special bond through breastfeeding.
It was something that we got so much enjoyment out of, and it was also the thought of being able to come home at the end of the day and have that time and those few minutes together and just, you know, reconnect with the wee one and just relax. It's lovely. Gives me a chance to kind of come back down a wee bit and get a chance to get a cuddle of my wee boy as well. It's great.
For more information on breastfeeding and returning to work or study, go to the Start for Life website. To learn more about expressing for a premature or sick baby, see Best Beginnings Small Wonders DVD.
So the reason I picked, oh wait, hold on. So the reason I picked that particular video was I really liked how they showed all three different types of pumping. You had the first lady who did hand express. We had the second lady who did a pump, and they showed single and double pumping, or pumping from both sides. They call it double pumping. It's essentially pumping from both breasts at the same time. And then the last lady, I don't know if you noticed, she had a manual pump where she was actually pushing the lever up and down herself. And so even though that video is a little older, as you heard them talk about DVDs, I thought it was nice to get all three of the major ways that people pump in one video. And it was, pretty even tempo. All right, so as you know, I got my statistics. We're gonna start with those. Oh, what did I say?
The last one was the double pump. I mean, the last one was the double pump was the manual pump. Because I think I missed the manual.
Stop being the manual pump. Yeah, that was the lady with the older child, and she was squeezing the lever. She was squeezing the lever up and down. And now it didn't look hard to do, because it's not. So she wasn't like having to push super hard, and the manual isn't hard. It's just a simple little press. But I just wanted you to be able to see all three. Plus, they also showed a different lady who wasn't in the video, but they just showed a clip of her using the double pump as well.
Okay.
Um,
Because I was considering
you were considering what?
manual because I'm like, I don't know. When I see the reviews of the all the electric pumps, it's just like people always saying it stopped working and stuff like that.
But yeah, there's no, we're gonna watch another video. This lady here does a lot with pumping. It's her thing. She reviews pumps. She's very scientific in her way of doing it. She does who keeps changing the screen. So I don't know if you noticed the video jumped backwards. He decided to hit the
I was wondering if you started it over. I was like, didn't we just see this
No,
part?
it was him. And then I was just like, well, we'll just watch it again, I guess. The the yeah, so the thing about the electric pumps is they do a good job as long as you get a good pump, right? But you always want to have a manual or hand pump or know how to hand express in case you forget your pumps at home. That's happened before. And if you only have one set, which most people do, because if you get a really good manual pump, if you get a really good electric pump, they cost like $200-300. So most people can't afford to buy two of those, right? Or three of those. And so what I recommend that people do is get, the nicest pump your insurance will pay for. Make sure you get it, your insurance is paying for it. Make sure you get it the nicest one you can get. And then also get a Haka, which costs like $20 at Walmart. Get two of those. And we talked about the Haka before. Oh, dang. There's a video I wanted to show. I just remembered I didn't put it in here. But maybe we can watch it tomorrow. Or if we have time today, I can show it with the Haka in it. So I would recommend getting the electronic pump. Like I said, the nicest one your insurance will cover. Getting two Hakas, which if you have insurance, normally your HSA, FSA, I think it is one of those two, they'll cover you buying a medical product. The Haka counts as that. You can get reimbursed for that. And then getting a manual pump. So the way that works is you primarily probably use your electronic pump so you can go on the go and do what you want to do. Your Haka is to either catch your colostrum in the beginning, or some people use it to catch the leftover milk as you go along. And then your manual pump is your backup pump. That's your, I forgot, I'm at work and I didn't bring my pump. You want to leave that in the car, or you want to leave that at your work or wherever you are. And then that way you're always covered if you can't figure it out. And those manual pumps are pretty cheap because they don't include any wire, no batteries, no nothing. And so that's the plan I would go with, because some of those need to be charged, some of them need to be plugged in. So you really have to look at your electronic pump and make sure that you understand what you're buying. And most insurances have it. Oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, the Haka is the manual pump, right?
No, the Haka, that's why I said I think it'd be better for everyone to see it. I have a video that I wanted y'all to see. So if we have time at the end of the day, I'll play that video. But if not, then I'll throw it in tomorrow and it'll just be, a continuation of pumping because it really goes with this. But today we're gonna watch 3 videos and I wanted it to be 4, but I just remembered I forgot to put that 4th one in there. But yeah, the Haka is not a manual pump, it's just a suction. It's easier to see. So hopefully we have time after, because we're already in the meet and it's not even 5 o'clock, so we should have time. Before I do the thoughts, I'll go on YouTube and see if I can find the video. I watched it today. I thought it was really, really, really good. About the haka itself. She even shows you like how to put it on and all those things. So I'll try to get that. But the manual pump was what the last lady was using when she was just squeezing the pump and it was pulling the milk out. That's what the manual is. So the way to think about it is the electronic uses either battery or has to be plugged in. So you either have to charge it or plug it in. The manual, you squeeze it to create the suction power, and then the haka is just a hold. It just holds onto your breast and gets whatever milk leaks out. It's not a pump, but it does create a like a vacuum suction around your breast and just holds onto it. But we'll look at that as well because I really wanted that to be in this. Um, so hopefully, like I said, we have time because we're already halfway done with the slots today. If not, then I'll throw it in tomorrow. Okay, so statistics for today. Nearly 85% of breastfeeding mothers in the US pump milk at some point. Pumping is common and part of many real life feeding journeys. And as we talked about, exclusively pumping can maintain milk supply just as well as direct nursing if done consistently 8 to 12 times in the early weeks. As we talked about before, you do not want to exclusively pump unless you have to. If you're going back to work or if you're gone the majority of the day, still at least try to nurse at least once a day, bringing the baby to the breast. That way the baby can get the immune system support that they need from you if they're coming down with something or getting over something or in the middle of something. Your body will produce the antibodies it needs in order to satiate your baby. So even if you only do it once a day, that's good. As the last lady was saying, her baby is a toddler and she hand expresses majority of the time. But when she gets home from work, she likes to do the skin to skin with her baby. Being Yahuah, I tell you. And that is what I'm saying. Just once a day. It could be in the beginning. It could be in some women find that it's easier to do at the end of the day. It helps their baby sleep because it's the oxytocin is released, the warm skin contact, and then the milk. And they find that it helps them at night. Some people find that it's better for them in the boker in the morning because they have all this milk from the night before, and so it helps them to get a release and the baby to get a surge of oxytocin before they leave. Or she said that it worked better for her right when she gets off work, so that they can bond because she's been gone all day. Whichever. Just try to do it at least once a day if you're going to exclusively pump, if you can. Okay, next statistic. 60% of breastfeeding mothers return to work within the first year postpartum, relying on pumping to continue feeding. And that's according to the U.S. Department of Labor. So they're finding that pumping gives working moms flexibility and the ability to extend the breastfeeding journey, which I'm all for. But like I said, try to do it at least once before your baby comes to your breast, because that will really, really help your baby out, especially during times when they're sick. And like we talked about, continuing the bond and keeping up your milk supply. Frozen pump milk can be stored for at least 12 months in a deep freezer. We talked about that last time. 6 months in a regular freezer, and then 4 to 5-ish. The 5 they're like really weird about, 4 to 5 days in your refrigerator. And then this allows families to build a stash for emergencies or times apart. Like I have said, every day, you do not need to feed all the kids in the neighborhood, all the children in the neighborhood. You just need to feed your baby. So you don't need to go crazy with the stash. While preparing for this, I watched a video where there was a lady who had 2 deep freezers full of milk, and I was just like, "What are you gonna do with that? What are you gonna do with that?" Um, and so I just, I want everyone to know that that is not necessary. Just it's just something I want to stand on, because she was so proud to say, she overproduces and she has 2 deep freezers full of milk. And I was like, baby, that is, are you going to give that to somebody? Are we going to sell it? What are we doing? What's happening here? Anyways. And so moms who pump and breastfeed report a higher breastfeeding continuation rates, higher continuation rates at 3 to 6 months, especially when supported. So we've talked about all the parts of that sentence. We've talked about support, which, even like I said, if you guys don't get pregnant, if you don't know anyone, if you come in contact with someone who looks like they need help, just being supportive to them. If that's all that comes from this, I am ecstatic, because women need support when breastfeeding. It is a trying journey. And sometimes it's blissful, but there are times when it's very trying. And then also continuing. So if you need to switch to pumping, then try to at least breastfeed 1 time a day. If you're going to exclusively breastfeed, that's fine, but there's also no shame in pumping, so there's no shame either way. We don't want shame in any part of this experience. And if you feel like you're in pain, I know it's not on the slide, but I'm gonna say it anyways, ask for help. Get the help you need. And then pumping extends feeding success even when life gets busy. That's an thing that a lot of women say is like, oh, I don't have time for breastfeeding. It takes too much time. It actually takes about 15 to 20 minutes per breast, depending on your child. Like Rakam only ate for one side. So when she was eating from that one side, I just pumped the other side, and then I had milk for later, and that's how I built up my stash with her. Yahuah, on the other hand, eats from both sides. And he laughed. And he and he always has. So, but I don't know. So just depending on your child, you can definitely build a stash if you feel like that's what you need. If you're gonna go back to work, if if you just want to have like a day, having a day's worth of milk for most mothers is more than enough. Unless you feel like you're gonna go a day without your child, because even when you're gone, you should still be pumping or expressing in order to continue the stash. So if you're going to go to work for 8 hours, you have more than 8 hours worth of milk in your stash. And then while you're gone, you need to keep that cycle up. So that way you can put that milk back in your refrigerator, freezer, deep freezer, whatever you're going to use when you return back to your home. And so most people don't take family vacations away from their newborn babies or babies that are younger. And it gives you time to build it up, especially if you get we'll talk about pumps a little later, but if you get the pumps you can wear, they call them wearable pumps, then you can actually breastfeed and do a whole bunch of things and nobody know that you're nursing. I used to do meetings with my wearable pumps on. Okay, now, when or why should you pump? So breastfeeding is an awesome journey. I highly, highly suggest it. And like we were saying, it is Yahuah's way of making provision for our children. However, if something happens and you need to pump or you just want to have a stash, it doesn't mean that you're doing any less than Yahuah's provision, because you are still giving your child breast milk, and that is the ultimate goal. You want to make sure your child gets breast milk. And if you can do it, it'd be great for them to get your milk. If you can't, then get them, clean, well evaluated, but still breast milk. That's what we're going for. I just realized you couldn't see me. Oh. My bad. So what we're going for is breast milk. So if you want to exclusively pump, like I said, it doesn't make it any less than. No one is less than. There's no shame in this game. We just want to make sure that we try our best to do it Yahuah's way. And Yahuah's way is breast milk from a woman, a human. That's, not from a can or any of those other things, or a cow or any of those other things. That's my heel right there. That's where I stand. All right. So top benefits of pumping: supports and maintains milk supply, especially when baby is unable to nurse directly. So as we talked about, some women have different issues with the breast. If they're in the NICU, if the babies are in the NICU, if there's latch issues, if there's separation, if you're going to work, if you want to go out for a night with your ish, all of that is fine. You can pump while you're out, and the milk is already there from your last pump for the sitter or your family member or whomever. And so it definitely gives you a little bit more flexibility. Like the second lady in the video was saying, she wants to just go to the grocery store without the baby while her ish watches their baby. And so she was able to do that, and he watched him. And then I don't know if you guys could see, but the little green sippy cup that had the milk in it. That's why they zoomed in so we could see it. I've watched that video 3 times, so I probably noticed a lot of things that you don't see the first time. And so next thing is it allows partners and caregivers to help with feeding, like we talked about, so you can rest and have a little bit more relaxation. Like I said, I just want to make sure we don't try to replace it as a substitute, as women often do, and say, I just need a break. While children can be trying, they are a test of our endurance. And we trust that Yahuah gives the increase, and they will, not depart from his Torah, and they will walk upright. And so we don't want to push them on our partners and act like they don't exist or they're not our problems. Not saying that women in this call will, but some women do, and they just dismiss them. And even if you're giving them the breast milk, but you're doing it out of obligation or unhappiness, the emotions are in that milk. And so that's why we talked yesterday about resentment was the word I wanted. We talked about making sure that you are in a good place, and if you're not in a good place, getting there with your meditations and all the things. It enables moms to build a freezer stash for future use, emergencies, or times away from the baby. We talked about that in pretty much detail. It encourages continuing breastfeeding for working moms to return to employment. And like the second and third lady mentioned, your employer does have requirements of what they are required to have for you by law whenever you go back. They're required to give you a private room. You should never be nursing in your bathroom, unless it's a private bathroom in your office or something like that. But it's not supposed to be a bathroom. It's a door with a lock, and it should be available to you. Most of them, depending on where you are required to also give you a sink and a charger, like a place where an outlet, that's the word I'm looking for, as well. And so look it up for your state, know your rights, ask for what you are supposed to get, and a little more if you got a little bit more tenacity, but definitely ask for what you're supposed to have and make sure that you have that, and so you can be comfortable while you're at work and nursing as well. Oh, and then it also helps moms of multiple feed their babies at one time. And so we also talked about tandem feeding, which is what the nursing world calls it, where you have either you have twins or multiple children at the same time, or you have a baby who's not weaned and you have another one. And so pumping helps with that because it's not as difficult having a baby on your lap and a toddler or preschool or however old the other child is on your lap as well. But some women balance it as well, and that, more power to you. And then it's also beneficial for moms who exclusively pump due to preference or medical issues, and then trauma related concerns. And so that's why we do the journaling. So hopefully you won't have those traumas when you get to breastfeeding. So if we can work out our traumas ahead of time, we'll have should have less traumas when we get there. All right, anybody got any questions? If not, we're gonna watch the second and third video. They're pretty short. Cool. All right. Let's jump in this bathroom. This one works.
Got this question today from a member in my community, and I thought it was good, so I'll share it here. What is the difference between a portable and a wearable pump? This might have to be a two-part video because there's a lot to cover here, but basically we're kind of making up these terms, so there's no really clear definition, but a wearable pump is a pump that kind of sits inside the bra. It's totally wearable. This is an example of a portable pump. It's small, it's lightweight, it has a battery, you can move around with it. This pump also has a battery, but it's not small and designed to be moved around with, so this would be like a tabletop pump or something like that. A wearable pump has a little bit different style flange shield than a traditional pump, which makes it a little trickier to use and size. It's just one of the pros and cons of a wearable. Some portable pumps, like this one, come with cups, so now it's kind of a hybrid between the two. The LV Stride is another example of this, technically not a wearable pump, but kind of in between, so looks like we're gonna have to do a part 2.
So this on this side is her part 2, so we're just gonna slide right on over here and watch part 2.
This is part 2 to a video we just did on what is the difference between a wearable pump and a portable pump. Now let's talk about how do you decide which one might be best for you. Wearable pumps can be tricky to use, and there's several other videos on the channel on wearable pumps, kind of talking deep into those, but there's a high user error rate with wearable pumps. They're a little bit trickier to see, and sometimes they don't empty you quite as efficiently. That being said, a wearable pump can be really nice, especially if you have a good handle on pumping. I do find myself more often recommending portable pumps, especially for first-time moms or newer pumpers, or if you're not getting the results that you want with your other pump, this is a nice option. While I know that the cups are not as discreet as a totally wearable pump because you still have the motor and pumps out, it can be a really nice option and give you a lot of flexibility between the two. What do you think? Wearable or portable? Tell me in the comments below.
Okay. So she showed the difference between wearable, portable, and also the plug-in pump. And she gave you a little teaser of why they are different. The suction she talked about, the wires she talked about, and the power stability she also talked about. And so with that being said, that's really the breakdown. We're gonna get more into it, but that's the essentials of what makes them different. That's like the bare bones basics. Right. So let's slide down. Oh yeah, we'll have time. We'll have time to get the other video for the Khakmah for sure. Because I only got 2 more slides in the meet. Okay, so this is where we talk about each pump in detail. Each one that I have here. Okay, so you got your manuals, which the manual, like we talked about, is the hand operated. You squeeze the lever or the bulb to express the milk. That's good for occasional use. Like I said, traveling light, forgot your pump at home, relieving engorgement, which we talked about when your milk gets swollen up. But if you get on a schedule, so if you're going to go back to work and you know that your baby typically eats every 2 to 3 hours or 3 to 4, depending on how old they are, you need to try to keep that schedule at work so then you don't get engorged. Because your body works on supply and demand. And so if you are not getting the milk out, you're telling your body you don't need the milk. And when you tell your body you don't need it, it will slow down the production of it. So you don't want to go 5 days without pumping out any milk because A, you'll be in pain. And then B, you're also slowing down the production of your milk. And so the manual pump is good for that. It is quiet. It is portable. It is affordable. They are super cheap, and it is easy to clean because there's only one part that you have to do, and that's the flange part of it. It actually pumps straight into the bottle. So super easy to clean. The cons are that it obviously requires your hand to work. So you have to do it. And then it's also not ideal for frequent use or using out in public. Because as we talked about, the first 2 days, we do everything to give a theme to Yahuah. And so the pump has to sit outside and you pump it like this, like the lady did in the third video. In the first video we watched, but she was the third lady with the toddler, that it's not something that you can do and not be exposed. So that's what the manual pump looks like. Oh yeah, I mean we should watch them over. They're like 10 seconds.
Got this question today from a member in my community and I thought it was good, so I'll share it here. What is the difference between a portable and a wearable pump? This might have to be a two-part video because there's a lot to cover here, but basically we're kind of making up these terms, so there's no like really clear definition, but a wearable pump is a pump that kind of sits inside the bra. It's totally wearable. This is an example of a portable pump. It's small, it's lightweight, it has a battery, you can move around with it. This pump also has a battery, but it's not small and designed to be moved around with. So this would be like a tabletop pump or something like that. A wearable pump has a little bit different style flange shield than a traditional pump, which makes it a little trickier to use and size. It's just one of the pros and cons of a wearable. Some portable pumps, like this one, come with cups. So now it's kind of a hybrid between the two. The LV Stride is another example of this. Technically not a wearable pump, but kind of in between. So looks like we're gonna have to do a part 2.
So that's part 1. Part 2 is on the other side. But before we get there, I wanted y'all to see the ones that she had with the cup and no wire. That is your wearable. You just stick it into your nursing bra, regular bra. Regular bras are kind of hard if they have wires or something like that because they need to be able to move around. Don't make it up a voice. They need to be able to move around and get a good suction. And so you would open your bra, lift your breast up, put the pump on, make sure that your nipple goes inside the flange. And what do you need? That you gotta make all that noise. And you put your nipple inside the flange so then you can nurse. And so that's what she not nurse, so you can pump. And that's what she was saying. That one is a little bit more trickier to do, but you'll know when you're doing it wrong. Okay. If you feel, because there was a few times when I did it forward calm that I felt the suction, but it hurt. And whenever I looked, I was actually like, my nipple wasn't in there. So it was pulling suction on my skin itself. It didn't have to happen that long before I figured out I wasn't doing something right. And because it's not supposed to hurt. And then if you're using the wrong flange size, which like I said, we'll talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow's our flange day. Then you also know, because your breast will feel really, really full whenever you get done, it won't extract as much milk. Or if you're using a too small flange size, you'll feel pain. And so, like I said, anytime you feel pain, you're doing something isn't right. Either the baby's not doing something right or you're not doing something right. But you'll know that that's your telltale sign something's off. And then the last one she showed, and she called it the tabletop pump. That is your one that typically needs to be plugged in, is bulkier, has the wires and all the things. And so that's that type of pump. But she's gonna go a little bit more into detail on the next video on this other side. I just wanted to give that little more in depth because these videos are short for her.
This is part 2 to a video we just did on what is the difference between a wearable pump and a portable pump. Now let's talk about how do you decide which one might be best for you. Wearable pumps can be tricky to use, and there's several other videos on the channel on wearable pumps, kind of talking deep into those, but there's a high user error rate with wearable pumps. They're a little bit trickier to see, and sometimes they don't empty you quite as efficiently. That being said, a wearable pump can be really nice, especially if you have a good handle on pumping. I do find myself more often recommending portable pumps, especially for first-time moms or newer pumpers, or if you're not like getting the results that you want with your other pump, this is a nice option. While I know that the cups are not as discreet as a totally wearable pump because you still have the motor and pumps out, it can be a really nice option and give you a lot of flexibility between the two. What do you think? Wearable, portable? Tell me in the comments below.
Okay, so hopefully watching it one more time gave a little bit more insight as to what I was saying about the types of pumps. I don't know what's going on, but my laptop seems to have a little bit of a delay when I click on the next slide. There we go. Okay, and so then the next one is a single electric pump, and the single is it basically just does one side. That's the only thing. So some people prefer that option because they want to pump while they nurse. And that's what they use. So it's motorized. It only does one breast at a time. It's for occasional pumpers or somebody who's supplementing. Now, if you're going to be a full out exclusive pumper and only nurse one time a day, then that is not the pump for you. Because you are going to be pumping a lot because you have to pump one side and then pump the other side, and it's just not going to be something that you want to do consistently. And what you have to think is also you have to do that 8 to 12 times a day if you're going to feed your baby exclusively through pump milk. And so that would not be for you. That is occasional. It's easier than the manual because you don't have to do the pumping by hand yourself, but it definitely but it is cost effective. So it depends on, your finances as well, if that's something that you want to do as well. I went ahead and just bought both. And even though I typically only needed to use one at a time, it helped me because I was always forgetting to charge them. And so then I could just put the one that I had that was charged on the other side. But preference. This is all about preference. I'm just giving the information. And like the comment says, it is slower than double pumping because you can only do one side at a time. I'm trying to boss me, baby. And he's trying to boss me around, trying to make me feed him faster. Then there's you can do double pumping, which is essentially pumping on both sides or buying both pumps. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to pump on both sides, but you would have both pumps, which is what I did. But like I said, that depends on how much you need to pump. You know what I mean? If you're just going to pump occasionally and you're going to exclusively breastfeed, then maybe a single pump is good for you. It just depends on what you need. I just want to provide the information. Now, the double pumps, you can pump both breasts at the same time, or like I said, you can have them in different locations so that you always have access to a pump. It's more for working women or exclusive pumpers. You know, if you're going to go back to work, you're going to want to pump both breasts, so you can be done in about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the setting. Some of the lower suction ones will take about 35 minutes to do a full cycle. Um, just depends on what kind you get. Some of the double pumps are bulkier because they have the wiring and all the stuff. And some are louder. That's a major con for the double pumps, is some are louder. Now, that doesn't mean all of them are going to be. There's LV, there's other ones that are quieter by brand, because they don't, because people complain about them being loud. And so then obviously, like any customer service market, they try to make them quieter. And so they do have some that are quieter and not bulky, but that price. So the LV is about $300 to $500 for a double pump. You can get one by itself for half that price. And so that's why I said, definitely look and see what your insurance will cover and then rate those things. And a good way to do that is look and see what your insurance will cover, then go on YouTube, TikTok, or Amazon. Stop. To see what other people say about those things. Because your insurance will say it's great. That doesn't mean other people think it's great. So look up the ones your insurance will cover or cover a portion of, and then go do your research on what other women say about those. Hopefully that makes sense. We have more types of pumps to go. Then, hmm. Then you have your wearable hands-free pumps. LV has those too, the cordless, they're compact, you can put them anywhere. And there's also Modella has some. I mean, pretty much all of them have some. You just gotta kind of like see which one is good for you. Willow has them. I know Mom Cozy came out with one that was like $100 or something. Everybody was all over that. You have to check and see what your insurance covers, because some insurances only cover hospital grade pumps. And I would put that in air quotes, but I have my hands full right now. But hospital grade essentially means the ones that they give or loan or sell at the hospital, which is not going to be typically your hands-free, unless because your hands-free are made to be hands-free and not hospital grade. So just like I said, make sure you check with them first and see what you're looking at. They do now. Some insurances do cover the cordless ones, but some don't. So you just have to be careful to do your research. And then, like I was saying, hospital grade. And the hospital grade is best for women who have like low supply or are going to be in the NICU or something like that, because it has a way higher suction, but it's because it's made for the hospital. So the suction is higher on those. Now, just because it's made for the hospital doesn't mean you can't use it at home. That's why they sell it for you to use it at home. But it has way more features. But hunty, when I say expansive, she out there. So make sure if you're gonna buy hospital grade, either you just got some extra money or your insurance is gonna help you. One of the two. Because that's why she lasts, because she costs the most. I went in order of cost. I started, with the least expensive, we went all the way to the top. But just like I said, you can look up different options and make sure there's something that works for you. And then my little pro tip down there is there's no one size fits all. Every woman is different. Every woman has different needs for pumping and different things that they want the pump to do, whether they want it to be super quiet or they just want it not to have wires or they want it to be super cheap. Just try your best to make sure whatever pump you get, whatever flange you get, you are comfortable. I know I've said that a billion times, but it's really important because if you're not comfortable or if you're uncomfortable or you feel self-conscious because the pump is too loud, fill in the blank, whatever you're feeling, get less of a letdown. That's what I really want to drive home. So make sure that you feel comfortable. Any questions? Because that's the end, the meat of the matter. We're gonna do like the journaling section next. Oh wait, no, I'm gonna play that video next. But if y'all have any questions while I look up the video, then we can of course talk about that. Go ahead, sister.
I think the video was kind of confusing, but it's probably because I'm new to pumps. But the I seen both on the insurance website, and I think maybe if I just know what the better brands are, it'd be easier for me to choose because what they put on there was like, forgot all the brands they put on there. But I did see some ones with cords and ones without cords. So when you said you had both, you was talking about you have a manual and a wearable one.
No, I was saying depending on what you want it for depends on what it should look like. Does that make sense? So if you are gonna be at home all the time, you don't think you're gonna go anywhere, and you're gonna be happy to pump at home, then the wire will be fine. If you feel like you're gonna want to pump when you're out and about, you're gonna want to go do stuff and be places or go to work, then you're gonna need the wireless one. Or at least the portable one, which the portable one still has wires, but it's not connected to the wall. So the wires connect to the milk storage device, but do not connect directly to the wall itself, which still gives you some flexibility of where you want to go. You know what I mean? Whereas a completely wired pump has to be plugged into a wall and you have to stay there. So that's the difference.
Oh, you mean like a rechargeable one?
Yeah, no, so the rechargeable ones, they often you can just plug them in and take them with you. But the wired pumps themselves, they actually plug into the wall. Like you have to stay sitting.
And the ones that's rechargeable, what you said it was called?
The rechargeable ones can be portable or they can be hands-free. So the rechargeable just means that they can charge up like your phone.
Hmm.
So what you're
Okay.
looking for is, are they portable, which means that they still have cords that connect to the milk chambers, the milk storage chambers, or are they wearable, which means they have no wires at all and you can just pump and go. Your portable ones you can pump as well, but like the lady was showing on the video, they still have a wire that connects them to the milk storage chamber. So it just
Okay.
depends on what you're looking for. You know, if you are comfortable with the wire and you just want to save a few bucks, then the portable would probably be better for you. If you don't want any wires and you want to be hands-free and have low sound and nobody hear anything and all the things, then you might be leaning more towards the wearable. But that also comes with an increase in price.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna
it
see.
just
I'm gonna send you the ones that's on the website.
Yeah, and we can talk more and see what you're looking for. I'm about to stop sharing for just a second, because I'm gonna switch to this YouTube is what I want to try to see. Okay, so this is the Haka. She's gonna show a little bit more about it. This is our friend from yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I like this lady's voice for some reason. All right, here she goes.
Hi, welcome back. My name is Jeanesse. I'm a nurse lactation consultant and the founder of Prenatal Genie. And in this channel, I post breastfeeding tips to support your breastfeeding journey. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future tips. In today's video, I am going to be talking about the Yahuah breast pump and how to use it to prevent low milk supply and help you establish an adequate milk supply for your baby. To establish adequate milk supply and prevent low milk supply, it is important to remember that we need to remove breast milk from both breasts at each feeding, especially during the first 3 months after birth. Milk supply starts establishing between weeks 6 and 12, so removal from both breasts is very important. Many moms report low milk supply at around 4 weeks after birth, and this could be for many reasons. It could be because mom might not be feeding as often as she should, baby might not be latching.
So I just realized it's the wrong one, but we're watching it now, so it's fine. And she didn't mean 4 weeks, she meant 4 months. And one of the reasons that we found is that that's around the time where women feel like their baby should sleep in a crib. And so when you separate the baby, your body doesn't know where the baby went. And so um you're gonna have your child sleep in a crib, that's fine, but still keep up the nursing schedule. You can't cut the baby off from your body and feed them your supply for 24 hours and think it's gonna be okay, because it's not. Something suffers when you start making decisions like that. But anyways, we're gonna watch the rest of the video and then I'm gonna find the one I wanted you to see.
Well, she might not be offering both breasts at each feeding or removing milk from each breast at each feeding. So these are a few reasons why low milk supply could happen, but then there are other reasons as well. So it's all based on an individual case by case. If you feel that you have low milk supply, it's important to reach out to an IBCLC lactation consultant so you could have an individualized, a customized plan of care to help you increase your milk supply. The Yahuah pump is a one-piece silicone breast pump that works with suction. I used it myself with my son during my breastfeeding experience journey, and I found it to be a very helpful tool to establish milk supply and prevent low milk supply. So the best way to use the Yahuah while breastfeeding is you want to latch baby onto the breast And then on the opposite breast, you want to apply the Khakmah. If you need to kind of angle baby down lower so you make space for the Khakmah, it's fine. You could do that as well. And the way you want to use it is you want to flip the phalange part back. If it doesn't stay, just hold it with a finger. Squeeze the excess air out by squeezing the base. And then you want to center your nipple in the opening. And without letting go of the base, you're going to flip back the phalange. It might take a few times for practice for you to feel comfortable doing it. And then you let go of the base. This is going to create suction. Your nipple is going to pull in and you're going to see this part a little squeezed like this, and it shouldn't move. It should not go anywhere. So it stays there for the duration of you breastfeeding your baby from the opposite breast. Okay? Another way that you could apply it is just by squeezing the base and then centering your nipple and your breast tissue inside the phalange and then letting go. I recommend this way for the beginning, right? So you start with breastfeeding baby on one side and then you apply it this way on the opposite breast, because we don't want to remove a lot of breast milk from that other breast. So my recommendation is to just squeeze the base to get the excess air out and then center your nipple and let go. And then for the duration of that first breastfeeding, then you use it this way. And then when you're done, you could just peel the phalange back. And I always used to have a mug near me when I used to breastfeed and use the Khakmah, and that way I wouldn't worry that it will tip over. Okay, so I will always sit it next to me and will place it inside a mug. Okay, so when you go and you finish with the first breast, you birth baby, you change the diaper. So for the second breast, when you're ready to put baby on the second breast, we want to use the second method, this method. This just squeezing first and then just centering the nipple and the areola inside the phalange and letting go is for the first, like when you breastfeed from the first breast, because we don't want to remove a lot of milk from that second breast, because baby is going to go onto that breast and we don't want to drain that breast too much. Okay, remember that it's all about feeding baby first and then the Khakmah. Okay, so for the second breast, after you birth baby, then we're going to flip the phalange all the way back. All right, if it doesn't stay, use your finger to hold it back and squeeze the base and then center your nipple and then flip it back onto the nipple and then release the bottom. Okay, so that you will use it for the second breast after birthing baby. Okay, a better demonstration will be with a balloon, so you can see how it suctions how it suctions your breast in. So squeeze the base, put it over, and then let go. You see how it pulls in? All right, and then for the second way, like this, center the nipple and let go. Like flip the phalange over. It might be a little tricky at the beginning, but and then you let go and it creates more suction. This way it creates more suction onto the breast. See how it stays? How it stays like that and it doesn't go anywhere. All right, so that's why I wanted to use the balloon to show you that it should stay put. It shouldn't go anywhere. Okay, and then you squeeze. You can squeeze or not squeeze and peel it back. All right, so that's the proper way to use the Khakmah. Then before, of course, using the Khakmah, you want to make sure that it's clean, that you sterilize it. So after each use, So before using it, right, the first time you want to wash it and sterilize it, and after each use you want to wash it with soapy warm soapy water, and then let it air dry, and then you could sterilize it once a day, either with like steam bags or with in boiling water for 5 minutes. All right, and then whatever milk you collect you could save for later, or if you need, you know, time for yourself, and your partner could take care of baby and feed baby, and you want to make sure that you store it in containers that are BPA free, and that if you're going to put it in the refrigerator, it's all the way towards the back of the refrigerator. That could stay there for 4 days, and then in the freezer stays, it could stay for up to 6 months. All the way in the back is recommended so the temperature doesn't fluctuate, and in the deep freezer it could stay there for 12 months. You want to make sure that you label it properly with date and time, so you use the oldest milk first. Okay, if you leave it at room temperature, it could stay out for up to 4 hours. All right, so I enjoy using the Khakmah. I think it's a very helpful
Okay. So that is a Khakmah. It is super useful. I will say this video is a little old. So there's 3 things I want to say. First, we learned this the past 2 days. You do not need to burp your breastfeeding baby. I want to say that off the cuff because she said that several times. That is not necessary. Second, she said something very wonderful. She said, feed the Khakmah after you feed your baby. Like I said before, we're not trying to feed all the children in the neighborhood, just your child. So please do not be so focused on building storage and being like these women that have 10 ounces and 2 deep freezers full of milk. You don't need to do all that. Make enough for your baby. Don't stress yourself out. Be relaxed. You will make enough milk. And then the third thing, I can't remember. Oh, this was the video I wanted y'all to see. The one about the Khakmah. I just didn't remember it starting the way she started it. I in my brain, she just jumped right into the Khakmah. But this was the video. And then now, that's the Khakmah. It doesn't pump anything. It just suctions. That's what I was saying the difference was. So in this video here, we're not gonna watch the whole 10 minutes over again, but I wanted to show the last lady was using the manual pump. Let me here she go.
Sink for you, and also they are actually obliged to provide a fridge for you to store your breast.
Okay, so we don't need to hear what she's saying again because I trusted y'all heard her the first time. But what I wanted you to see is how she is pumping that lever and it is pulling the milk into the container. That is what a manual pump does. You do the work, it holds the suction, and it holds the milk. This is manual. You do the work. The Khakmah just suctions on the breast, but it doesn't do any work. It's just catching the letdown. So if you're feeding baby on one side and you're letting down on the other side, the Khakmah will catch the letdown, right? The manual, you pump a lever or move a ball that's inside, depending on what kind it is, and it will suction it out for you while you do the work. The electronic does the suctioning, does the pumping, does the whole, but And so that's the difference in the three of them. Hopefully that helped it make a little bit more sense. Where we at? Oh yeah, we did that. Okay. Did that make more sense? Are you good?
Yeah, I understand that.
All right. Hallelujah. No Hebrew left behind. All right. Now, thinking about pumping. Now, these are our journal questions that we're going to talk about tomorrow. How do I feel when I see or prepare my pump and its parts? So when you think about pumping, are you confused? Do you feel like, I don't really understand what's going on? Do you feel exhausted or frustrated? Some people are just like, whatever, they feel neutral about it. And then why do you feel that way? Did you have a bad experience? Do you feel like you need more help? All of those things we're going to talk about tomorrow, because phalanges really is not like a 2-hour thing, but it's a break because I've given you so much information for like 3 days. And so we're going to definitely talk about phalanges and all of those things. But I do want to talk about how you guys have felt with the past 3 days information tomorrow, and then go over anything you may be missing, because Thursday is our last day. So tomorrow it'll have less information that I'll necessarily present, but I want to do more talking so I can make sure, well, I want to do more discussing so I can make sure you guys are tracking me through, and that any questions that you have moving forward, we address those before the last day. And so with that being said, please make sure that you write down any questions you have outside of these or including these, so that way tomorrow we can really get into the crux and make sure everybody understands everything. Question number 2. What does pumping represent to me in this season of motherhood? Is it a necessity and it's all you have and you feel like you got to do it? Is it a sacrifice and you really don't want to do it, but you got to do it? You know, because those come from two different veins. Or is it a form of stewardship? Like you're taking care of your children, you're doing the best that you can, and this is what you have. Or is it something completely different? And then if you could speak grace over yourself while pumping, what would you say? And so these affirmations and encouragement will definitely help you as you, thank you, as you move forward in this pumping season, or nursing season, because having those affirmations, even if you write them out and you're not even pregnant yet, they will help you to know what you're moving forward, what you're pressing for, and seeking life over yourself. And so these are the tips. So I want to go back to hand expression. It is a forgotten gift. If you get into a pinch, a bind, you end up feeling full, too full, you don't know how you can make it, all of those things. Please, please don't forget that Yahuah gave you your hands and they can get milk out. Please don't forget that. Pumps are great. They are tools, but not masters. The best thing to get milk out of your breast is your baby. Your baby. Okay? You can get the most expensive pump and still have milk left in your breast, because in actuality, your breasts never actually run out of milk. They're just going to make more because they think their baby is still hungry every time you put them up there. So pumps are tools, not masters. They need to be clean. They need to be charged. If you get one that needs charging, they need to be plugged in. You have to make sure you have the right parts. You have to make sure the parts are clean. It's a lot that goes into pumps. I'm not trying to downplay them. I'm just saying you're the master of that tool and it has to be used properly to get what you need it to do. And then choosing the right pump is personal. If you're going to stay at home, then a double electric or a manual pump may serve you well. If you're going to work, you want to have like a hands-free or a portable pump, because you're going to be going places. If you're in the NICU or have low supply, then your hospital grade pumps are going to be your friend, because they're really going to help with it. They have heavy suction, as we talked about. They also cost a little more. So like I said, be prepared for all the things, but I just wanted to kind of give an even playing field of pumps and make sure that we all understood the pumps and the parts and the gizmos and the gadgets, so we can all get on the same page for that. And then lastly, thank you for coming. My name is Khakmah, all written. Our email is support@yadayahuah.com. Our website is yadayahuah.com. Ways to support you can give on Cash App. It's $Samantha31792. And you can also follow us on Instagram, which I now have a person that's going to do that. So the posts will be more frequent because I am not good at that. But it is _Yadah_Yahuah. And the easiest way to really catch me for real is either is joining the support group that we have, which I guess, well, I'll send that link out to join the support group when I send out the survey for the summit. And that's where I am. That's where other women are that are going on this journey and have already been on this journey. And so it's definitely a wonderful place to be. Does anybody have any questions before we end the recording?
What was the last question on the journal thing?
Speaking life. So if you could speak grace, life over yourself while pumping, what would you say? And those affirmations, what I was saying about that is those affirmations are good for when you get there, to have them pre-written. Sometimes when you're going through a difficult situation, it's harder to speak life in that moment. But if you already have it written for when you're in those situations, then you're prepared when you get there. And also, pro tip is to use scripture in those. So if you're gonna say, I'm beautifully the one and wonderfully made, then actually go look that scripture up and add it to your affirmation. So you're not only speaking life, but you're quoting the scripture to your ruach in those moments.
Soda.
All right. If nothing else, I'm gonna turn the recording off. Mm, 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 mm.